I shouldn't have been there. It was wrong. Too risky. But the moment she opened the door, everything else faded into the background. She stood before me, wrapped in a silky robe that barely clung to her body, revealing just enough to tempt, but not enough to satisfy. Her dark eyes, filled with mischief, locked onto mine as a slow, knowing smile spread across her lips. The soft glow of the bedside lamp cast shadows across her collarbone, highlighting the delicate curve of her neck. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat screaming a warning that I was too far gone to heed. She took a step closer, her bare feet barely making a sound against the hardwood floor. The air between us was thick, charged with something dangerous, something forbidden. Her fingers, cool yet electric to the touch, traced a slow line down my wrist, sending a shiver up my spine. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my breath steady, but the way she looked at me, like I was the only thing she wanted in that moment, made it impossible. "Don't worry," she whispered, her voice dripping with seduction as her lips hovered just inches from mine. A slow smirk tugged at the corner of her mouth. "We won't get caught." I should have walked away. I should have turned around, shut the door behind me, and never looked back. But I didn't. Instead, I let her pull me inside, the scent of her perfume, a mix of vanilla and something intoxicatingly sweet, wrapping around me like a spell I couldn't break. The door clicked shut behind me. No turning back now. She pressed against me, her breath warm against my neck. My pulse hammered as her fingers trailed up my chest, undoing the buttons of my shirt with agonizing slowness. "You've thought about this, haven't you?" she teased, her lips brushing my jawline. God help me, I had. I had imagined this moment too many times, but fantasy was nothing compared to reality. The heat of her skin, the way her body molded against mine, the sheer recklessness of it all, it was intoxicating. I tilted her chin up, forcing her to look me in the eyes. "What if we do get caught?" I murmured, my voice barely more than a breath. She smirked. "Then we'll just have to be very, very quiet." Her lips met mine, and suddenly, the weight of morality, consequences, and the looming shadow of her husband vanished. All that remained was her, me, and the undeniable, electric pull that neither of us could resist. We were in her bedroom now, a place where no man but her husband should have been. The air was thick, heavy with the intoxicating mix of her perfume and the crisp, clean scent of freshly washed sheets. The dim glow of the bedside lamp cast golden shadows along the soft curves of her body, making her seem even more untouchable, forbidden. But I was already too deep. She stood before me, her breath steady but her eyes gleaming with something dark, something reckless. Slowly, she reached up and ran her fingers through her silky dark hair, letting it cascade down her back as if she knew I was mesmerized by every little movement she made. With deliberate slowness, she reached for the top button of her blouse. "You like danger, don't you?" she whispered, her voice smooth like honey, yet tainted with something wicked. I exhaled sharply, my hands instinctively finding her waist, pulling her closer. The fabric of her blouse was soft beneath my fingers, but the warmth of her body underneath was even softer. My pulse thundered in my ears. She tilted her chin up, daring me, her lips parted ever so slightly, an invitation, a challenge. I should have said something. I should have stopped this. But I didn't. I couldn't. Her fingers trailed along my chest, unhurried, teasing, as she undid one button after another. The room felt smaller, hotter, suffocating in the best possible way. I leaned in, my lips hovering just above hers, drinking in the tension between us. The thrill of getting caught. The impossibility of stopping. But then. Speech balloon, a soft vibration. A faint, but undeniable glow from the nightstand. Her phone. The screen lit up, casting a pale blue hue across the sheets. My stomach dropped. Her playful smirk disappeared in an instant. She froze. The name on the screen sent a cold shiver down my spine. "Speech balloon, where are you?" "Husband." For a split second, everything around us stopped. The heat, the hunger, the reckless abandon, it all turned to ice. I felt her body tense in my hands. She inhaled sharply, eyes flicking between me and the phone, a flicker of fear flashing across her expression. I stepped back slightly, my mind racing. Is he here? Did he know? My heart pounded against my ribs, but she just stood there, staring at the screen, lips pressed together, as if calculating her next move. Then, suddenly, she smiled. Not a nervous smile. Not a guilty one. A slow, knowing, dangerous smile. She reached over, picked up the phone, and without hesitation, turned it face down. Then she looked at me, her lips curving upward again, that same wicked smirk from before, returning as if nothing had happened. "Relax," she whispered, her fingers grazing my jaw. "I told you, we won't get caught." And just like that, like a siren luring a man deeper into dangerous waters, she pulled me in once more. She barely glanced at the glowing screen before flipping the phone face down, her lips curling into a playful smirk. "Relax," she giggled, trailing her hands lazily down my shoulders, her nails grazing the fabric of my shirt. "He's out of town for the weekend. We have all the time in the world." Her voice was light, almost dismissive. As if the message from her husband meant nothing. As if this, what we were doing, was perfectly fine. But something in my gut twisted. A nagging, cold sensation settled in my chest, an itch I couldn't scratch. Something felt off. The room was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of her perfume. The windows were slightly open, the night breeze shifting the sheer curtains just enough to let the streetlights cast long, eerie shadows across the bedroom walls. And yet, I felt something. Not just the rush of adrenaline. Not just the heat of her body pressed against mine. Something else. A presence. A prickle at the back of my neck, a sensation so strong it made my skin crawl. I inhaled deeply, forcing a chuckle to mask the unease creeping into my veins. "Are you sure?" I asked, lifting a brow, trying to read her expression. She didn't even hesitate. With a slow, deliberate nod, she leaned in closer, her breath warm against my neck. "Trust me." Her voice was smooth, confident. Too confident. "We're safe." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to let go, to drown in the thrill of this dangerous affair, to lose myself in the fire behind her eyes. But the feeling wouldn't leave me. That unshakable, creeping sense that something wasn't right. And then, small blue diamond, a noise. Faint. Almost imperceptible. But I heard it. A soft creak. Not from the bed. Not from the wind shifting the curtains. From somewhere else in the house. My breath hitched. My muscles tensed instinctively. She didn't react. She was too busy pressing her lips against my jaw, her fingers curling around the back of my neck, pulling me deeper into the moment. But my body had already gone cold. My pulse drummed in my ears as my eyes flickered toward the half-open bedroom door. The hallway beyond it was dark. Silent. Too silent. I forced a swallow, my throat suddenly dry. "Did you hear that?" I murmured, barely above a whisper. She pulled back just enough to roll her eyes, shaking her head with an amused sigh. "You're paranoid." Maybe I was. Maybe this was just the guilt twisting in my gut. But as she leaned in again, her lips grazing mine, I couldn't shake the feeling. That someone was watching us. The tension between us was electric, charged with the kind of reckless desire that made every warning scream in my head. "Stop. This is dangerous. You're going to regret this." And yet, her fingers tangled with mine, her grip tightening as if she could pull me deeper into the abyss with her. Her breath was hot against my neck, uneven, ragged. Each whispered exhale sent shivers down my spine, igniting something I knew I had no business feeling. She was fire, and I was drenched in gasoline, yet I couldn't walk away. Her lips found mine again, feverish, desperate, like she was trying to erase every trace of guilt with each kiss. My hands roamed her body, memorizing every curve, every inch of her warmth. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating, intoxicating. It was wrong, and maybe that was what made it feel so right. The flickering candlelight cast golden waves over her skin as she arched against me, her nails dragging across my back, leaving trails of heat in their wake. Her scent, sweet, familiar, dangerously addictive, clouded my thoughts, drowning out everything except her. I should have stopped. I wanted to stop. But I didn't. I let myself fall, let myself forget, let myself drown in the pleasure of the moment. And then, explosion symbol and noise. Sharp. Sudden. Too close. Like a footstep. I froze. Her body, warm and soft against mine, went rigid. Her breath hitched, caught in her throat. For the first time since I walked through that door, I saw fear in her eyes. My pulse slammed against my ribs, my instinct screaming run, but my body refused to move. Then, small blue diamond, another sound. Small blue diamond, closer. A floorboard creaked just outside the bedroom door. Someone was there. Watching. Explosion symbol KLA click. A door somewhere in the house creaked open. The sound sliced through the air like a knife, sharp and unexpected, shattering the feverish haze between us. I froze. So did she. Her body, once pressed so eagerly against mine, went rigid. Her fingers, which had been tangled in my hair just moments ago, were now digging into my shoulders, tight, unyielding. Our breathing, heavy just seconds before, became eerily shallow. Too quiet. And then, silence. Not the comforting kind. The deadly kind. The kind that prickles at your skin, that coils in your gut like a warning you don't want to acknowledge. My heart slammed against my ribs, each beat pounding like a drum inside my head. Had I imagined it? The wind? The house settling? No. I heard it. I felt it. Someone was inside the house. I swallowed hard, my throat suddenly dry as sandpaper. Did you hear that? I whispered, barely able to push the words past my lips. She didn't answer, not with words. Instead, her trembling fingers rose to my lips, pressing gently but firmly, silencing me. Her breathing was shaky now, uneven, nothing like the confident, teasing woman she had been just minutes before. It's nothing, she finally whispered, but her voice, God, her voice, didn't match her words. She was lying. I could see it in her eyes, wide, glistening with something raw. Something real. Something terrified. I swallowed the lump in my throat, my ears straining against the deafening quiet, waiting. And then, small blue diamond, a floorboard creaked. Closer. Heavy footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Closer. Each step echoed through the hallway, the weight of them pressing down on my chest like a cinder block. I couldn't breathe. Someone was inside the house. She turned pale, a ghost of the woman she had been just minutes before. The heat, the passion, the reckless confidence, all of it vanished in an instant. Her lips parted, but no sound came out, her body suddenly motionless except for the slight tremble in her fingertips. Her eyes darted toward the door. Then back to me. And then, panic. It's impossible. She whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of my own heart. I could see her chest rising and falling rapidly, her breath shallow and uneven. He wasn't supposed to be back. The words hit me like a freight train. Every nerve in my body lit up. Adrenaline surged through my veins. My fingers tightened instinctively around the fabric of my half-buttoned shirt. I had to move. I had to get out. I grabbed my things, fumbling, too fast, too clumsy. My fingers felt numb, useless, as I reached for my shoes, my jacket. And then, her hand shot out, gripping my wrist like a vice. Hide. Quick. Her voice wasn't teasing anymore. It was desperate. It was fear. My mind raced, searching for an escape route. The window? Too risky. Under the bed? Too obvious. Then, the closet. I bolted toward it just as she scrambled to fix her appearance. Small blue diamond buttons flying. A wrinkled sheet yanked straight. Hair tousled back into place. She was erasing me. Erasing every trace of what we had just done. But was it too late? My heart thundered in my chest as I squeezed into the cramped darkness of her closet, pressing myself against the hanging clothes, forcing down my breath, my pulse roaring in my ears. Then, the bedroom door creaked open. The door swung open so violently that it slammed against the wall. Explosion symbol bar. I flinched. Even from inside the cramped, suffocating darkness of the closet, I could feel the sheer force of his entrance vibrate through the walls. He was here. Her husband stood in the doorway. The room, so filled with heat, whispers, and reckless pleasure just moments ago, now felt frozen. A tomb. A place where something very, very bad was about to happen. My entire body went still. Not a breath. Not a twitch. Not even a blink. Through the tiny sliver between the closet doors, I could see him. Tall. Broad. His silhouette cutting through the dim bedroom light like a shadow made of rage and suspicion. His face, sharp angles, clenched jaw, eyes dark and storming with something dangerous, swept over the room. He knew. Even before he spoke. He felt it. Something was off. His nostrils flared slightly as if he could smell the betrayal in the air. And then, his voice. That voice. Cold. Low. Deadly. Who the hell were you talking to? The word slithered out, laced with something even worse than anger, certainty. He wasn't asking. He was confirming. I swallowed hard, my Adam's apple bobbing in my throat, but I didn't dare breathe. The walls of the closet felt like they were closing in around me. The scent of her perfume, so intoxicating minutes ago, now made me nauseous. I could feel my pulse hammering at my temples. Outside, she laughed. Not the carefree, playful giggle she had when she was pressed against me, teasing me, whispering dangerous promises into my ear. No. This laugh was forced. Brittle. Cracking at the edges. She was terrified. Just talking to myself, baby. She exhaled sharply, shaking her head, tossing her hair over one shoulder like she was annoyed rather than petrified. You scared me. A brilliant performance. But he wasn't buying it. He took a step closer. The floorboards groaned beneath his weight. Her body tensed. He smelled the lie. The pause stretched between them, thick, suffocating, like the final seconds before a gun goes off. His eyes flickered. Not to her. To the room. To the bed. The sheets, barely smoothed over, still creased from where our bodies had tangled just minutes before. To the 2 wine glasses on the nightstand. To the closet. To me. I clenched my teeth so hard my jaw ached. If he opened that door, I was dead. He took a step toward her. Not rushed. Not reckless. Controlled. Calculated. Dangerous. Every movement was precise, deliberate, like a predator circling its prey. His eyes, dark and unforgiving, swept across the room, catching every detail. The unmade bed, the faint scent of sweat and perfume still lingering in the air, the subtle tremor in her hands as she quickly smoothed her dress. She was trying to play it cool. But I could see it. He could see it. The crack in her performance. He tilted his head slightly, his voice deceptively soft. Why is the bed messy? Her breath hitched for half a second before she covered it with a nervous smile. She licked her lips, a tell. I knew it. He knew it. She was stalling. I took a nap, she murmured, forcing a casual shrug. A beautiful lie. But he wasn't stupid. His gaze didn't leave her. Didn't blink. Didn't soften. The silence between them stretched thin, heavy, suffocating. Then, he moved. Not toward her. Toward the nightstand. Toward the 2 glasses of wine. He lifted one between his fingers, swirling the deep red liquid inside, watching how it clung to the sides of the glass. My pulse pounded in my ears. Every muscle in my body screamed, "Don't move," but my hands curled into fists anyway, my fingers digging into my palms as if that could somehow keep me from shaking. "And why are there 2 glasses of wine?" His voice was flat. Emotionless. Deadly. Like he already knew the answer. Like he was waiting for her to lie again. I felt my breath catch in my throat. I could see him through the tiny gap in the closet door. I could see the way his jaw clenched. I could see the way his grip on the glass tightened, his knuckles going white. He knew. He wasn't asking. He was giving her a chance to confess. But she didn't. Instead, she laughed. A soft, breathy chuckle, too light, too rehearsed. She took a slow step closer to him, placing a delicate hand on his wrist, coaxing, distracting, deflecting. "Baby, you're being paranoid," she purred, her voice syrupy sweet, oozing a confidence that didn't match her trembling fingers. "Liar." He exhaled through his nose, his expression unreadable. But then, his gaze flicked past her. Straight to the closet. Straight to me. My entire body locked up. "Don't breathe. Don't move. Don't even think." Because if he opened that door, this would turn into something much worse. His steps were slow. Too slow. Like he was savoring the moment, like a lion playing with its prey before the final kill. I felt the weight of his presence pressing against the air in the room, suffocating, unrelenting. My lungs begged for oxygen, but I couldn't afford to make a sound. He was inches away now. His shadow stretched across the floor, creeping toward the closet like an omen. Then, his hand. Thick fingers. Strong. Calloused. They brushed against the handle of the closet door. This was it. Skull 1 second. Skull 2 seconds. I braced myself. My muscles coiled, adrenaline tearing through my veins. If he opened it, if he saw me, there would be no talking my way out of this. I would have to run. Or fight. Or die. Then. Small blue diamond, a vibration. A glow. The phone. Her phone. The sudden flash of light from the nightstand cut through the tension like a blade. It was so unexpected, so misplaced in the chaos of the moment, that it felt like a miracle. His entire body stiffened. His fingers, just a breath away from gripping the handle, suddenly hesitated. His head turned. The screen lit up. "Speech balloon, you were amazing. When are we doing this again?" Winking face. The words burned into the silence. I felt the air shift. The room changed. A heavy, suffocating stillness settled over everything. His eyes, sharp, dark, deadly, locked onto the screen. His chest rose, once, twice, then stopped. Like a man realizing he's been played for a fool. Like a man who just found out he's been sharing his wife. Her breath hitched. She had gone pale. Her lips parted, but no words came. She didn't need to say anything. It was already too late. He turned to her, the muscles in his jaw ticking, his fingers curling into fists at his sides. His face was different now. Not confusion. Not suspicion. Just pure, boiling rage. And me? I was still in the closet. Still trapped. Still watching, as everything was about to explode. He whipped around so fast that the air in the room seemed to shift with him. His face, once a mask of suspicion, was now completely unrecognizable. Pure rage. Boiling. Uncontrollable. Deadly. His nostrils flared. His jaw clenched so hard I swore I heard his teeth grind together. His veins bulged at his temples, his breath ragged, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. And then, His voice exploded. Small blue diamond, who the hell is this? The sound was like a gunshot, ripping through the air, rattling my bones. I didn't think. I couldn't think. Instinct took over. I burst out of the closet, my legs already in motion before my brain could catch up. I heard her scream. Small blue diamond, please, don't. A desperate, pleading cry that barely cut through the chaos of my pounding heartbeat. But it was too late. His fist was already flying. I barely had time to react, barely managed to twist my body to avoid the full force of the impact. But I wasn't fast enough. Explosion symbol, crack. His knuckles collided with my jaw like a sledgehammer. A burst of white-hot pain exploded in my skull. My vision blurred, my ears rang, my knees buckled beneath me. The world tilted sideways. I hit the floor, hard. My head slammed against the wooden boards, stars bursting behind my eyes. I tasted blood. I blinked, disoriented, my vision swimming as I tried to push myself up, but his shadow loomed over me. Towering. Unforgiving. Ready to finish this. His voice was animalistic now, low and guttural, pure venom dripping from every word. Small blue diamond, you think you can touch my wife and walk away? His boot connected with my ribs before I could move. Explosion symbol, thud. Pain exploded through my side like fire. I gasped, the wind ripped from my lungs as I rolled onto my stomach, desperately clawing at the floor, trying to find my footing. Small blue diamond, stop. Please? Her voice cracked, she was crying now. But he wasn't listening. His fury had a target. Me. I forced myself up. One chance. So close. I lunged for the doorknob. His fingers brushed the back of my shirt. I yanked the door open. And then. Small blue diamond sirens. Blazing. Piercing. The deafening scream of police sirens cut through the night air. I saw the flashing red and blue lights flood through the windows, slicing through the darkness like a lifeline. His grip hesitated. For 1 second. 1 moment of indecision. That was all I needed. I ran. Out of the bedroom. Down the hall. Through the front door. Into the night. And behind me. Explosion symbol, the sound of chaos exploding. Fire, the end. Fire.